are connected.
Yes, we are ready to start. How are you doing?
I'm great. Thank you for having me tonight.
No,
I'm really excited about this, and I hope that a lot of people can find really good information tonight.
That's the idea, Silvia, exactly. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Silvia.
Okay, so my name is Silvia Angel, and I am an education consultant. I have been working in early intervention for many years, for 18 years. As you can hear from my accent, I'm from Barcelona originally, but I've been in Ireland for almost 20 years. And I'm also the mom of a boy with autism. So I've been working with children with special needs for many years, but then I have 2 children, and my eldest has autism. And he's 11 now.
He's 11. Okay, Silvia. So I think it's going to be a great idea if you tell us, how did you find out? How was your pathway, your process to your journey on the autism, spectrum disorder for your child?
Yes. So yes, because tonight we want to talk about that, about like what signs, what do we see, the early signs of autism. So things that I saw with my child. Well, first I want to say that I was a first-time mom, and that makes a difference. And even when I work with families, I can see that when you are a first-time mom, I think that it's easier to miss things, and I did miss a lot of things. What did I see? I saw that my son, he cried a lot, and everybody said, oh, maybe he has colics, this tummy. But I knew that he was uncomfortable with a lot of noise. If I was in a room with friends, with loads of people, he would cry. I knew he was uncomfortable. Things made him uncomfortable, and he wanted a lot of hugs. I knew that. Then as he grew a little bit older, so I realized that he was not developing language. He didn't understand, and we are a bilingual, trilingual family because I'm from Barcelona. We speak Catalan, Spanish, and English, 3 languages. So I thought, yes, of course, there's 3 languages, so it's going to be harder for him. But at one point I thought, like, he doesn't even understand mom, mommy, mama, where's mama, where's daddy, or very basic things. Even when we call him, he wouldn't, his name is Sebastian, Sebi, he wouldn't turn around. So there was the sensory things, the hearing, and the fact that the language, there was a language delay. I didn't notice, and again, I think it's because I was a first-time mom, and I was very anxious with him, that when I look at photographs of videos, I realize there was no eye contact. And I don't know how I didn't see that at an early stage. The eye contact was very poor, and the interaction was very poor. So having said that, he was a very affectionate child. He wanted hugs, and he wanted me to carry him all the time. So there was a lot of physical contact, but when I see videos, I realize there was no eye contact. I also then... later on, I started noticing that to communicate, number one, he wouldn't point to things like children normally would, look at the cookie jar and point like they want biscuits. He wouldn't do that. When he wanted something, he used to get my hand and put my hand, let's say he wanted the television, put my hand on top of the TV to say, I want the TV, okay? And I suppose now, looking back, I realized that was a very clear sign that's something that children with autism would often do.
And it's important what you say, Silvia, because sometimes parents think like, oh, he grabbed my hand, he's communicating with me. No, grabbing the hand is just focus on the hand because they know that this hand can do something. But if you let the hands go, and if the child looking at you like, oh, what did you do? This is a communication and interaction. But grabbing your hand and guide you, it's not like the communication, right? And that's what you see with Sebi, right?
Yes. The hand was the object. It's like, this hand is going to turn on the TV, or this hand is going to give me milk, but he was not, interacting with me. And also if I pointed, like let's say there was a bird or an airplane passing by, if I pointed, he would look at my finger, and I was like, no, the aeroplane, and he wouldn't, and he wouldn't notice that. And because children with autism had difficulties with joint attention, so he couldn't focus on that thing that was far away. He couldn't trace, my finger where I was pointing.
It's a gesture that you are just pointed over there. It doesn't mean that you have to look at this. You have to look what the finger is pointed. But this is something like very abstract, right? Like I watch your finger when you're doing, right?
Yes. Yes. So when he was about 2 years of age, we visited the public health nurse, and he had his the checkup that children have at 2 years of age. And at that point, I was conscious about the language and focusing on the language. I didn't notice the other things. I have to say that I didn't notice all the other things that I'm talking about, just the language. And the public health nurse, she was very concerned about the speech delay. And she wanted to refer us to speech therapy. And we said, no, we speak 3 languages at home. No. And she rang us a week later. No, he's fine. And he rang again and again. And I actually, when I saw her years later with my second child. And I really thank her for being so persistent, because we could have missed something very important. So she rang so many times, and I said, okay, fine, we'll send him to speech therapist. And then I went to see the public health nurse again, because we had to do I had to sign a form for him to be referred to speech therapist.
Yes.
Yeah. And when she was filling in the form, she put in the form that he had language delay, and she just put a little note, and she said, this child didn't make contact, didn't interact with me during the visit. And I had to sign the form, so I read that. And I am an educational consultant. I work in early intervention. And when I read those 2 sentences, like I froze. I knew, oh my God, like she is saying autism. And when I receive a form like that at work, then I know, like, if there's a language delay and maybe social skills delay that we need to investigate. Are we talking about autism? So in that moment, I looked at my child and I saw a child with autism, something that I hadn't seen before. I missed everything. I didn't see it. I didn't see the lack of eye contact. I didn't see the there was no babbling, there was no interaction. And after that visit, I took my child to the playground, and I realized that he was running around. There was loads of kids, and he was not paying attention to the kids. He was not even looking at me. The other children were climbing on the slide and going, Mommy, look at me. And they would go down the slide. And my son was not looking for me at all, and he was not looking and interacting with the other kids at all. He even went on the seesaw, and he sat on the seesaw, and he started, bouncing himself. He wasn't even looking for somebody to sit on the other side of the seesaw. And I don't know how I missed all that, but I missed all that. It was only at that point that I realized it was so clear. I had no doubt that I was looking at him, and I knew he had autism.
Yeah, that's important. Also, it was not only your first child, but also like family. If you don't have family around to see the cousins, to see other kids, so how he interact, it's easy to miss it. So And what did you do at that point?
Yeah, and so at that point. I'll just talk very quickly. I'll talk very quickly about our journey in the services, and then I will talk about what I did myself with him at that point. Okay, because I did a start intervention with him on that day, the minute I realized that he had autism. So in terms of services, then we were referred to speech therapy, and I can't remember now, to be honest, how long it was. I don't think it was too long. We saw speech therapists in the HSE. And the initial, when we started the visit, so she said, I see there's a language delay. I'm going to do an assessment. We're going to do intervention, and then we'll see. And it was all very vague and very general. And basically it's like, we'll see. We'll do a little bit of work here, and we'll see.
We'll see if he improves, or if he develops the social communication, engagement.
And then maybe in a few months' time, he might be fine. If he's not, But I could see that it was very much a wait-and-see approach. That probably she was going to give us some tips, but it was a wait-and-see approach. And then I was able to communicate at that point to tell the speech therapist, listen, this is happening with my... And I was able to tell her all those signs of autism. He's not making eye contact. He's communicating with me by grabbing the hand. He's not interacting. He's not babbling. At that point, there was echolalia, that he was saying some words, but that he maybe was listening to Peppa Pig, and then he would be repeating, "Hi, I'm Peppa Pig. Hi, I'm Peppa Pig."
Yeah,
Hi.
like scripted.
Yes, absolutely. If he wanted a glass of water, could I have a glass of water, please? Because he was repeating the cartoon, so there was a lot of echolalia. So I was able to describe all my worries and the signs of autism. And also I asked that question, do you think he has autism, or is there a query of autism, or I'd like to investigate if he has autism. And that very honest conversation led to her
the speech and language, right?
The speech and language therapist. Yeah, we had a very honest conversation, and then she said, "I think you are right. Like what you are telling me, it really indicates that we should actually investigate if he has autism, and we need to assess that. So I'm going to refer you to a specialized team." The reason why I'm saying this here is because if there's any parents listening or watching us tonight, if you are in that point that maybe you think that your child might have autism, and you are talking to your GP, to your public health nurse, you're talking to people, that the more equipped and informed you are, the better it is. Because it's very easy for people, and especially I meet a lot of parents who have young children. They may be 2 or even younger than 2 years of age, and then they might talk to the GP, and normally if the kid is young, the GP will tend to say, "It's okay, he'll get there. Some kids are, it's still young, we'll see." And so if you are
typical phrases that the parents heard, like, "Oh, he's a boy, he's lazy, he's going to talk, it's an environment with 2 language," and while right? So you're the mom, so that something was.
And it's important to persist. So I'm telling parents, persist. Bring your notebook with your notes. Why do you think, what's happening? What are those behaviors that you're worried about? And bring it with you and show it to them, and insist and persist. Please send me, refer me to whoever I need to talk to. Don't waste time, because for example, that day with the speech therapist, if I had continued to go to speech therapy, it could have been 6 months later that maybe she would have said, "Oh, maybe you need to be referred somewhere else." And we would have wasted 6 months, a year. I mean, like how many times money we see in our clinics, that sometimes we see parents that have been going from place to place for a year, 2 years, 3 years with no answers. So be prepared. Even just Google signs of autism and just get that list and go to the GP and says, "My child is actually, I can see all those behaviors. Please refer."
Be careful with Google, because in Google you can find anything that are not right. So, probably you can try the M-Chat, right?
Exactly. I was going to say, let's recommend the M-Chat. It's a document. Exactly. It's called M-Chat, and Manny is going to put that in the comments.
Sure.
Because the M-Chat is a questionnaire. It's not a diagnostic questionnaire. It's just a questionnaire that tells you if you need to research further, or that there's a risk that your child has autism. Okay, so if you do that questionnaire, and that questionnaire says that yes, there is a risk of autism, then you can go with that questionnaire and try to investigate that. Okay, so the more information you have and the more persistent you are, the better it is, and that can speed up the process. Okay, as a professional, when I'm working in my clinic and I work in public services, if I see a family, the same is going to happen if they are not actually able to describe exactly what's happening or what their concerns are. I need to see them a number of times before I see maybe there's signs of autism, and then I need to communicate that to the parents. So again, there can be weeks or months might pass by. So the more informed we are, the better it is. Okay, so we can speed the process a little bit. Okay.
And you said that you did start immediately, right? Whenever you realized. Can you tell us what did you do?
So when I realized, and again, I saw it very clearly in that moment, he has autism. And I had been working in early intervention at that point for 10 years. So I was familiar with it. So the first thing that I did with Sebastian is I helped him with his communication skills. That was one of the biggest problems for him. He couldn't communicate anything, and he didn't understand anything. I also teach sign language. When I saw that he had a language delay, I started using some signs, but that was not working with him. Okay. I do know a lot of children with autism who are using signs. So it works for some children and it doesn't work for other children.
Every child is different.
Yes. And it didn't work with him. I quickly saw that. And then I introduced PECS, the Picture Exchange Communication System. And I don't have the PECS book with me now. And by the way, we're not using it anymore. I'm just, again, I want to say that because I can understand that a lot of parents are a little bit concerned. If I use signs, if I use pictures, my child will get used to this and will not want to speak. And I have to say that it's right the opposite. And I see it all the time when I introduce communication systems with my students, and when I did it with my son, that actually helps speech development. It helps communication, and then a lot of children then also develop a speech. Some of the kids may not develop a speech, so that means that they are going to need that for longer, or maybe they will always need help communicating.
And what did you start using it? This is really important. From your point of view, like what did you start first? Because sometimes parents, they don't know. Should I use a picture from Google? Should I use a photograph? How did you start?
So even initially, you don't need to buy anything. So I printed pictures of objects that he liked. Okay, things that he really liked. Those things, like he used to grab my hand and bring me to the fridge because he wanted milk, or grab my hand and bring me to the biscuit tin. So I took a picture of milk, a picture of a biscuit, those things that he was communicating already. And I want to say that because that is very important. Don't start with things that your child has never asked. Start with the pictures of those things that your child is already communicating. So and he liked chocolate. So we took a picture of the chocolate, and you can even go to Google Images and just glass of milk and print a picture of a glass of milk. So it was a little bit of chocolate. And then my husband stood in front of my child, and he had a bit of chocolate. And then we put the picture of the chocolate on the table, and I did hand over hand. I helped my child take the picture of the chocolate and give it to my husband. And then I would say chocolate, and then my husband would give a bit of chocolate. And then we did it again, chocolate, until he very quickly understood, if I give this picture, they give me chocolate. And straight away, he started doing that immediately. He also loved bubbles. Yes,
that's really important what you say, like Silvia. And also, when you're talking to your child, just put at the right level, at the same level of him, like in front of him, because some of the kids have difficulties with visual perception. So just go to the right level to them and say, like, okay, and chocolate, what you did, right? Like hand over hand. So, and he understands and he learned, oh, if I get this and I say chocolate, I'm going to have what I want. And that give them power, right? Give them power and control of the things that they want. And they are going to keep it repeating. Oh my God, this is amazing. If I said chocolate and I give the picture, so I got what I want. So, and let's empower the child, and then like encourage them to keep talking and interact with others, right?
And he was delighted. And very quickly he loved bubbles. So we did exactly the same with bubbles. So the first thing you have to teach them is that they need to exchange the picture to get the object. So once they learn that, then you can start introducing different pictures, because at the beginning he didn't even have to look at the picture, but then gradually maybe he would have two pictures available, and then he had to choose whatever he wanted.
Very good. Two pictures, right? That's really important what you say, because sometimes it's like, yes, they have 10 options and it's hard to focus on this. Starting with giving two options, right, Silvia?
Yes. And even I'd also like to give a tip that I often give to parents. At the very beginning, or if your child is finding it hard to make a choice, give them something they love and something they hate. A picture of chocolate and a picture of broccoli. So then it's very easy. But if you say chocolate or ice cream, maybe I want the two of them. Okay, so it depends on your child. But that's a little tip. And very quickly he learned to communicate using the pictures very quickly, very quickly. And it was, for me, although I had used pictures, I had done that with my students, but seeing my own child and knowing him and seeing, oh my God, this kid could not understand anything, could not communicate, like nothing. to a week later being able to communicate quite a few things, and very quickly. And he started using his voice as well. He would actually, not all children do that, but some children do that. And he started chocolate, bubbles, a biscuit, and very quickly started communicating. And that changed everything for him, for us. And that's that kind of opened up the world to communication, that opened the doors to communication for him.
And there is also a lovely book to recommend that is Temple Grandin. So but I presume that everyone knows her. So I love her. So she wrote a book called Thinking in Pictures and explaining why is that so important and so powerful, the pictures. So we encourage parents, if your child is not communicating at all, just print, as Silvia said, a few pictures of things that he likes and offer him, give him a choice and teach him. So, and then it's like, what happened with the pictures? So at some point, how did you progress?
And we used the pictures probably pegs for about 2 years, I'd say. And then again, when children can communicate verbally, they stop using the pictures to communicate. Okay, so never worry about that, because eventually my son then was able to communicate, and he would come to you, Mom, I want the biscuit, and that was great. So eventually he dropped the pictures to communicate. Now, having said that, we use a lot of visuals, and so at the same time as I introduce the pegs for him to communicate, I also introduce pictures to explain to him what was going on in the house. For example, when he was very little, for me it was very difficult, for example, to go shopping, to go to the supermarket, go and do my Tesco shopping, get him, put him in the car, shops. Like he couldn't tolerate that. So very often I had to distract him. And I did something that I wouldn't do that now, but at the time I just did it. I used to give him my phone, and he used to just watch cartoons on the phone. And so literally I would just grab him, give him the phone, and he would be on the phone in the car, the phone, the supermarket, and come home and not even know what he
because
had done.
you needed to do that, right?
Yes.
So that's okay.
Yes.
Don't feel guilty at the parents that sometimes they give a phone. It's like, I had to give it. That's okay. So we understand that you need to do that, right? But that
I
now
couldn't
is
manage,
another advice that what else can they do, right?
Yes. And then gradually, so I used photographs. So when we were in the house and we had to go shopping, I took a picture of my car. So I would tell him, car, and show a picture. And then gradually he understood, oh, car, I go in the car. And then we would arrive at the shop, and I had a picture of Tesco, the outside of Tesco. I was like, shop. And he was like, shop. And then very soon I was able to tell him, when we were in the house, we're going to get in the car, we're going in the shop. And I used a lot of pictures. Or even when he was going in the school, then he would have a picture in the kitchen. We're going to go to the school, and then we'll come home, and then we'll play in the garden. But I use a lot of pictures, a lot of visuals, a lot. And I can't stress, I don't know how to tell parents how important this is. It's so important. It's going to change everything, how much it helps his behavior. Hugely.
Because also what happened with the picture gives them a structure, so they know what is going to happen. If they don't know what is going to happen, it's hard for them, because sometimes they don't know if they are going to be able to cope with the situation, right? So because going to the supermarket is not just going to the supermarket. It means that you're going to be in the car. You have to put the seat belt that probably is uncomfortable for your skin, because there are a lot of sensitivities around touch. Then there is a lot of noises and a lot of light in the supermarket. So sometimes when I go to the supermarket, I am very aware of the environment. It's like, oh my God, poor kids, poor kids, or poor people with autism or any sensitivity. So, and having had all of these pictures, so they know what is going to happen. They can prepare themselves. You give them anticipation. That it's a key. It's a key for a person with autism, knowing what is going to happen, anticipation, preparation, so they know what to do in this situation instead of anything like unexpected change. That's why they don't like unexpected change, unexpected. They don't like surprise, because they don't know if they are going to be able to cope with the situation. They don't know if they are going to have the skills to perform or to function in that situation. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And still today, and Sebastian is 11. He's very able. He's in school. Like he's a very able kid. He can read and write. So we use a lot of calendars, and every single morning we have a whiteboard. So for parents watching that have young children and they think, oh my God, all these pictures and laminators, do it because you won't be doing it forever. Now we just have a whiteboard, and in the morning, this morning he's like, what's going to happen today? And it's locked down. Today it's going to happen the same as yesterday and the day before and the day before. But he wants to know.
Exactly.
So we just like homework and go for a walk and
he
have
needs
lunch and,
to know.
Yeah. And then he looks and he knows that in the afternoon he's going to go on his computer, on his Nintendo Switch, and he's happy. And then is what you're saying, Mane. Then he can cope with the homework. He finds that very stressful and he hates going out for a walk, but he can cope with those because he's seen on the list that the Nintendo Switch comes after. Yeah. So that really helps him enormously. Some days we forget to do the list because we're working from home and it's very, sometimes it can be chaotic in my house as well. We forget to do the list. And some days I think, oh my God, what's going on with him today? Like he's completely like giving out all the time. He's angry, he's stressed. And then I think, I didn't plan for today. So he's actually lost. It grounds him. So that's my advice to parents. Don't hesitate. Even if the kids are, my son, like he's verbal, he's fully verbal, but he needs, and it's really cute because he can write. So sometimes he goes to the schedule and deletes something and writes something else.
That is really good because also if you have them, it's like, let's write what are we going to do. You're going to practice also handwriting. You're practicing fine motor, handwriting, make a list. You know what is going to happen. Yes. And I think it's great. And also, did you use or at some point first and then, Silvia?
Absolutely. And at the very beginning, I started with one picture, what's happening next, bath or shop or car. But then very soon, like first and then. So first the bath, then TV, first the car, then shopping, or first the shop, and then I'll give you a lollipop. Yeah.
And this is a great resource, for example, if they have to do homework and they don't like it, right?
Yes,
Even though keep it short, the homework, please, like 10 minutes or something like that. But if you do the homework, then you put something that he wants to, right? Like, I don't know, a TV program that he likes, a toy that he wants to play with, right? Like you put it then. So they know that if they do this now first, then you're going to have the reward.
Yes.
Right?
And that worked really well. That worked really well too.
Yeah. And then it's like, what? Yeah.
Then also he was having a lot of sensitivities, sensory issues. And I could see, for example, with noise, there was a lot of noise, and still there is a lot of noise that really bothers him and he cannot tolerate. And at the same time, he's very interested in noise. He loves music. And actually, my husband is a musician. He plays the piano. My son is learning the piano. He also loves music. Even as a young child, he's fascinated by music. But he always, even when he was a baby, he used to listen to anything that made a noise. Yeah. So again, there was unusual things, or for example, he used to go on the swing and want to be on the swing for a long time, or at nighttime he was jumping on the bed. So there was some sensory issues, and we also seek for some occupational therapy as well when he was young.
Is he covering his ears?
He used to cover his ears all the time. Now,
have you
sometimes?
Yeah, the headphone. Have you tried headphones or
definitely? With him? Definitely, when he's out and about, he loves wearing headphones, and that helps. For example, the wind. So going for walks, he doesn't like that. Even the wind bothers him. So normally he puts headphones and music, and he tolerates that.
It's important to say that don't force the child to wear them if he doesn't want to, because sometimes the sensitivity, the touching around the headphone is like, oh, I don't like it. Yeah. So always it's nice to offer this as an option. Is it time now?
Because I told Mane I was using a timer and the timer rang. That's what happens when you have kids with autism. Then you get all those things that actually we end up loving it ourselves.
That's really good, because
So
what happens, exactly, the timers are really good to give them anticipation, right? If they are going to finish an activity, or we have to move to the supermarket or something like that, it's good to keep like a time, like alarm, and then it's like, okay, so this means that you do one more time, you mean that you finish your activity, that we move, so you give them, again, anticipation, right? And prepare them for that.
Yes.
And and then did you have another like therapy with him, or?
Yeah, and one of the things that I wanted to stress with the parents, the parents watching us today, is the intervention. The earlier that you can start, the better. And that's where we started talking. We said the moment I knew he had autism, I started implementing a number of things. And it was very hard for me to see that at the time I would have met all the families that were in the same journey. And obviously by the time we were all on wait lists for services in our area. So by the time we were seen, assessed, put on the wait list for therapists and receive therapists, the kids, it was actually a year and a half before my child started receiving intervention, 18 months, okay? I started at 2 years of age. So if there's any parents watching tonight, I just want to say, sometimes you don't even need to wait for the diagnosis. Okay. No. So if you think that your child has autism, you can start implementing strategies right away. If then your child is assessed and didn't have autism, they have maybe a language disorder or a language delay, it's fine, because that intervention, it's going to be helpful anyway. Or maybe has a sensory integration difficulties, but maybe not autism. It's totally fine. That intervention was still very beneficial for your child. So what I would say to parents is the earlier, the better. The better. The earlier, the better.
The early detection, early detection and early intervention is the key, right? And you don't have to have a diagnosis to start intervention, because the intervention, what we do when we do assessment, is just identify what are the difficulties and how can what are the difficulties. First, we have to find the cause that is doing it, explaining to parents. And when parents understand the child and their behavior, they can support him to develop, right? We don't need the diagnosis. No. I mean, we need the diagnosis then to know exactly what happened. But then it's like, you don't need the diagnosis to start intervention. And this is really important. And having said that, I would like to tell parents that if the public service is full and you're looking for a private, there is association that is called Association Occupational Therapists Ireland, AOTI.ie, where you have a list of private therapists that they can be assessed. And also there is a speech and language association that it's called I don't remember, but it's an association. I think it's Irish Association of Speech and Language Therapy, if I'm not wrong. And also they have a list of private therapists in your area that you can consult. But it's just, if you have any doubt, you are a parent, you know your child, trust your gut. I always say, trust your gut and go for a professional advice to see what happened with your child, right? If you know your child, I always say, like, parents, you are always right. You're always right because you know your child.
Yeah, and at the beginning it's so easy that people dismiss, or even family members, they want you not to worry, and it'll be okay, but
he's gonna talk soon.
and intervention works. And look, it's different for every single child. And even my son, when we finally accessed intervention, and he was in an autism specific preschool, there were 6 children and they all developed differently, okay? But the impact, if it's children that have really high needs, what that intervention helped their parents. A lot of parents had a lot of difficulties managing the children at home, manage behavior, and then that intervention helped that those parents could manage their children. And because some parents are even housebound, they can't go out because of the type of difficulties and all behavior that the child has, and that intervention helped with them. Some other children did so well, they ended up going to mainstream mainstream education. My son, well, I'm always very positive and he's doing brilliant. He's in an autism unit. I mean, all children develop differently, but it's so important because, again, even children that had very high needs, these are children that have quality of life now. They're happy kids. The families can manage them at home. Whereas when I see people that didn't get that intervention, sometimes there's situations, family life can be very difficult if you haven't had that support.
Exactly. What we want is like children be happy in this world.
Absolutely.
So we're going to give the tools and the strategies for parent understanding and the strategies for the child to be happy in this world.
Yeah.
And that's what we want, right?
Yes.
Like as a parent, as a professional, right? Silvia, you as a both.
Yes. Yeah.
Is that what we want?
And it helped me because one thing that I want to add, Mane, is as a professional, before I had my son, I was always focused on child development and get the kid to progress. And now that I'm a mom, I'm thinking differently. Of course, I want my child to make progress, but I want him to be happy. I want him and us to have friends. I worry about his future. And sometimes I'm actually teaching him to make sandwiches and so on. And I said, one day you're going to live by yourself or be responsible, make the bed. I'm looking at things a little bit differently. I have another child, a 5-year-old, Sam, and I'm also even talking to Sam. I want him to understand his brother. And I told him the other day that his brother had autism, and it was really cute, the conversation we had, because for me it's important that he understands what's happening to his brother and the friends.
And it's fantastic because your other son is going to tell his friends, and this is the way that we are going to keep speaking up for our friends, for our kids with autism, right? And also it's like in Argentina, I remember when I visited last time, so in the kindergarten, in the crèche, they were talking about autism because there were one kid with autism, and also they were having a tantrum, and all of the other kids say like, shh, because Daniel cannot tolerate noise. So all of the kids, like 3 years old, like respecting the child with autism. And that's what we need, I think. This is the message that we want to like, communicate, right, Silvia? Because we're almost on time, sorry.
Yes. I want to say something that was really, really cute when I told my 5-year-old that Sebi had autism. And then another day, he was telling one of the cousins that was annoying my son. Was like, no, stop doing that. Because Sebi has optimism. Instead of autism. He said he had optimism. I like that.
It's a good one. We are going to finish like this. So our kids have optimism.
We're going to look at autism with optimism. Yes.
Silvia, thank you very much for this lovely talk. If your parents are there, listen to us, and you have any question at all, please don't hesitate to send us a message, right? Like Silvia and myself, we are going to be so happy to answer any question that you have. So we are a little bit busy at the moment, but we always have time for you and your questions, okay?
Thank you so much, Mane. And thank you, Mane, for the work that you do. And I want to say to the parents here watching that I met Mane a few months ago, and probably she's one of the most passionate therapists and professionals I've met in my life. So thank you so much for the work you do.
Thank you, Silvia. Thank you. Thank you very much for being here and to help us just speaking up broadly and advocate for the people with autism. Okay? So we are with you, families.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
bye.
everyone. Good night, everyone.
Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.